And about 2.5 years into college, I had been taking summer school courses at OTC. And so I had amassed enough credits about 1.5 years in, 2 years in, that my advisor kind of sat me down and said, hey, you can graduate in 3 years if you'll quit the accountancy track and switch to just a general business degree with an emphasis in real estate. And I thought, okay, yeah, I can cut an entire year off my undergrad. Absolutely. So I did. And it turned out to be a really good decision. So I actually graduated with a business degree, just general management, emphasis in real estate. And then I was able to take that and go get, just a normal corporate job. So I was able to land good work. But then I started to get into, buying single families, and I was doing it with like an FHA loan. So I really didn't know, crazy coming off of a family who had done this for years, that I really didn't know what I should have done. And I think that's a testament to people who are experienced tend to assume that other people know, and it's our job to teach them. So I think that's where maybe a lot of my heart comes from, is I see myself in a lot of young investors or young home buyers. But all of that to say, utilized the FHA loan the first time, and I bought a foreclosure. So this was like a 2013, right in there. And so bought a foreclosure for $70,000, and that house just resold for $219,000. So it makes me sick that I ever sold it, but was able to get into it, house hacked it, remodeled it while I was in it, and resold it. And that was kind of the light bulb moment. I was like, oh my goodness, I just made more money doing that than I had the entire previous year at my 9-to-5. So it made sense to drop the W-2 and to pursue real estate. About that same time, as I was in the process of quitting, I got a phone call from a local bank, and they had just repossessed some self-storage facilities. They were in Joplin, Missouri, and so at the time, they'd called my dad to take them over because he had had experience in self-storage, and he basically just said, I'm not interested in 3. That's too much for just me. And so the bank turned and called me and literally said, hey, this is the call that changes your life. You need to go quit your job, and you're going to take these over. And I did. As crazy as that sounds, I did. So that's really the launch. That's like from zero, just working 9-to-5 college, all the way to, oh my goodness, I'm now a full-time investor. So
Right. And so you pretty quickly went from that single family house to these self-storage facilities. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like your college education and some of your experience and just knowing how to work with numbers and that side, the math side of things, helped with getting into self-storage and seeing the potential in that deal? Like, I'm sure that was a lot at once just to learn, is this even a good investment? They say it is. How do I know? How can I take this down?
Yeah. So no, not at all. There was nothing that really could have prepared me for that. It was entirely learn as you go. So my undergrad was awesome because I at least understood what it meant to, the basic flow of money. In other words, you have to have income, you have expenses, and the result's net profit. I understood the difference between assets and liabilities, those kinds of things. So broad concept, really helpful. Practically, not helpful at all. Never learned how to underwrite anything. Just literally the bank call, says, hey, you're taking these over. I say yes. I had never seen the properties. I had no financials. And so I jumped in the truck. I drove out to see them the next day, and they were in terrible condition, like the worst things I've ever seen to this day. And we've bought a lot of crap. These were the worst properties I've ever seen. Joplin police was dropping off homeless people at one location and telling them to live in the storage units. Like, that's how bad these were. So we had a big project there, but what was neat about the way the bank did it is they were taking these back, and self-storage works like a business. So someone has to be there every day paying attention to it. And the bank's not really into running businesses. So they were looking for someone to just step into that role. So what they did was they gave me amazing debt on the properties, and then they wrote a line of credit for me that I could draw on for any of my living expenses for the first few years. And then they also extended repair credits as well. So this was back when banks were, a little more desperate. So this would have been 15, right in there. And so banks would have been a little bit more desperate in that time to get non-cash flowing assets off their balance sheet because they still had some PTSD from 2009 to 2011. So when we moved in, they basically just said, hey, we'll cover your living expenses for a couple years. You get these going. And we did.